All right, I'm just going to speak on this case here. It's a tricky case, but it's not murder because the reason the indigenous teenager was shot is that it's not a lot of information, but obviously if he drops a BB gun, or an airsoft gun, he was holding an airsoft gun. Well, officer doesn't know airsoft from non-airsoft unless it has and even then there's a question of pointing something with what's it, the red barrel? Sometimes they have a red barrel, but again, in the heat of the moment. So the officer was correct to shoot, but the officer was incorrect. And again, is it temporary insanity or permanent insanity? So the question is, again, it's just one of those questions. There's no crime that was committed by the officer. Right. And again, this is an indigenous area. They might do you. They might find him guilty, but then again, he could appeal it, and maybe they'll say no. But, well, he did it wrong. He got it wrong. Right. Well, the question is, can his mind, fire, shoot, no shoot? Again, the shoot scenario existed. The no shoot scenario didn't exist. But theoretically, any reasonably minded law enforcement officer, the no shoot would kick in somewhere before. He apparently walked back to the body to shoot it again. So he lost it. I mean, he lost it, but he did it right. Right. Well, the internal affairs is right. Everything worked. He did it what he's supposed to do, but they weren't looking at the right thing. He's got, maybe he's going to get counseling. Maybe they recommended counseling. But again, it's just, 22 rounds, a little bit excessive. I could understand 22 rounds. I spoke on that before. How we were just in training and some woman, they were in a red man gear. And this young woman, Spanish woman, she used to work for Epic, but she got a job with the Marshal Service. You had a lot of people transferring agencies and coming from headquarters, and then military people like me. That class was a lot of experienced people, had different types of experience. But she's a little short woman, a mother. She transferred from DEA Epic to the Marshal Service. And we went in the Roadman thing, and she had that gun. The same thing, she had an airsoft gun, I guess, or something like it. I can't remember exactly how it went down. But this guy comes out with a shotgun, and the thing's loud, man. I don't think we don't have head earplugs or anything, and it's got real blanks in it, but it's loud. I mean, these things are loud, so it's like a flashbang. It sounds like a flashbang. So you hear boom, boom, or something like that, or boom, 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 or something like that, and then he opens up the door, and you're standing there. Oh, you have to. What it is? You go in to serve some subpoena or something. And you walk in and you talk to the person at the desk. So you're expecting the person at the desk to do something or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But so that person, I think, goes to the back. They go, well, give me a second. And they go to the back. So it goes to a door. So they come out. And so while they're in the back, you hear boom, boom, boom. And then this guy with this shotgun and the red man, it's this giant dude. I don't even know who they used. I can't even remember. But the dude was 6'3" or something, or 6'4". He was a role player, I guess. Right. Yeah, he was 6'3", 6'4" or something. I mean, he was pretty tall. I mean, even taller than that. He was just a monster. There's no way you're going to pull him to the ground, And again, this woman, she's what, 5'2" or something. I can't tell you her name. Right. So she, I guess I could really, but I'm not going to do it. Because she worked for Epic, I won't give her her name. Right. So she grabs her weapon out as soon as she sees him. And she starts squeezing the trigger, just in front of her feet. And then she keeps squeezing the trigger all the way up. And I think she unloaded the magazine or somewhere near that amount into the guy. And she painted him. From the crotch all the way up to his head. And that's the reality of it. That happens. I don't mean to laugh, but, in training it was funny. But they actually pointed that out. They said, look where she hit. She painted him. And she gets a couple rounds went in the floor right in front of her. Or in front of her as she's leading up, which is not really wrong if you're trying to save your life. It's better to get it up on target and go boom. But hey, if that's the way you do it, that's the way. And that was real, right? And so he had a same thing, kind of similar thing going on, but he was, in a real situation, which makes it even worse for him, the stress. But again, if he walked back over the body to shoot it, you might be able to blame, play it off on the person that pulled even if it's a fake gun, the fake gun. But it's a little bit, that has to be looked at. Like, as far as internal affairs and use of force, it was appropriate. Because the use of force really governed the first, maybe 22 rounds, but at least I'm sure he would have fired at least 6 rounds in this dude, right? So 22 is a little excessive. Right. So the point is the person was dead because he pulled the gun, and he was dead probably after the first few shots. So as far as use of force and murder, it's clean. But when you get to the point of, do we retain this guy? Is this guy retainable? I don't know. I mean, maybe he explained it to you. I don't know. Maybe he's in counseling. I don't know. Right. And it might be you have to give him a disability. Right. It might just be a disability thing where he snapped and that's it. But again, there's no murder there. There's no use of force violation. It's simply he got freaked out. And again, cops are human. Again, there are corrupt cops. I know there are. But again, that person, it just was stressed beyond what they could take. And I don't know what the reason is. Maybe he spent a couple years in a combat zone, and it broke his mind a little bit when it comes to that stuff. But I don't know. Again, I don't know what that story is there. There's very little information in this here, and it looks like a good cop, typical New Mexico cop. Oh wait, I shouldn't say that, right? Oh no, he's corrupt. No, it's clean because the person had the gun in his hand, even though it was a replica. Right. Well, does it say it here? No, it's appropriate use of force. At a certain point, you may have deemed it inappropriate use of force, but he was killed already. Right. And it happens. I mean, people just, but when he walked, okay. No, he wasn't. And again, based upon where he was in New Mexico, and there's only a few cops patrolling, I will tell you that EMS would not have arrived on scene fast enough to save that kid, even if he fired probably, one shot into where you're supposed to shoot it, like in center mass. Right. Right. But again, he ain't going to just fire one. He's going to fire like 3 or 4 at least. Trying to get the number of rounds because that was on one of these news articles. I got to find the other news article. What was his name again? Yeah, that person wasn't going to survive that. Right. Again, I have no idea why he did that. Again, it's possession of the mind, so you need to heal your people. Right. Somebody hated on him, and that was it. Right. Trying to get one of the news. I see all these are against the officer. I found one that gave me all the information. I'm not sure where it is. Okay, 15 times and died. Somewhere they said he walked back and shot him another. Maybe that was a lie. I don't know. A little excessive, but if he didn't walk back to the body and shoot it, then he could be retainable. Right. Well, I read somewhere where he walked away from the body, then walked, after he shot him, he walked away and then he came back and shot him again. That would, maybe that was. you see the tone. This is like what they're trying to build against ICE, but they're using it now against this officer. Like there was no reason. It was just a call for help. Well, yeah, but again, how do you? Well, you really need the social workers and stuff like that, right? In that case, but again, I don't know. They said it was.
There is enough evidence to move forward with the murder case against no.
Probably, yeah. It's rural. They don't have the social workers.
Responding to a well.
Right. It was an MSN. It was the major news organization thing. So I don't know. I'm not seeing it in these articles. It's like New York Times, but I got it off of MSN. I'll just put MSN. See if it comes up. Because it was like the one. It was a pay service news article, but it's on MSN. You don't have to pay. I don't know if you know that. Hallie was shot night during the. Well, you know. He tossed it to the side. So again, he produced the firearm. That's what did it, right? I don't know whether he tossed it this side. I have to see the video, right? 15 cans. Well, I can't tell you. I can't tell from the video. So if he came back and shot the person again, that's wrong, right? I read a different news article. I thought. Let me see. See, the way they wrote it before he was fatally shot, I don't know what that means because I don't have the video. Right. And did he toss it aside or did he drop it? Right. Well, if the weapon goes to the ground and again, the officer's looking down sight shooting at the target, so he's not necessarily seeing everything. You get tunnel vision. So the officer's got tunnel vision. Right? He's freaking out because he thinks he's going to be shot. Right. He's in the middle of nowhere. He's not going to survive. Right. And I think that area may have been the area where a state trooper was shot with the AR. I can't remember. 20 times. Okay, so they're saying, well, he laid on the ground. So I don't know. I don't even know if he heard the screams, to tell you the truth. You know, because again, what happens is the mind goes in a certain direction. I read somewhere, and maybe I misread it, that he walked back to the body and shot it. Right, but I don't think he did that, I guess. Essentially, they're trying to say he shot after he fell to the ground. That happens. Again, there's the bottom line is, if he didn't produce what looked to be a real firearm, he wouldn't have been shot. So again, it's the but for. There's something in law, usually civil law, but it's called the but for. But for the indigenous person and pulling that firearm, and you know, I don't know what he did with it. Again, if you have something on you, like a firearm, you put your hands up high and say, look, I have something. I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to stay like this. It's in my waistband. It's in my pocket, whatever it is. You don't move. You put your hands up as high as you can and you stand there. You don't go to show it to the officer or anything like that, because that's the case we had in Chicago also. All right. It's just like that case in Chicago. And then they decided that they would do it a little different instead of having, because again, you have an officer running, and then he's got to make a split-second decision when he sees a firearm. And then he shot the kid, but the kid was probably just going to toss it. Right. But again, you don't have, when an officer trains, it isn't like, okay, wait 3 seconds and make sure the person actually intends to shoot you. That's not part of training. So that officer was trained to do that kind of, but the reaction is kind of normal, actually. Right. But it is a little bit, you know, did he have that many rounds in his thing? He didn't like he didn't put another magazine in, did he? I'm sorry to laugh, but The only way to deal. That's the way cops deal with this stuff. Right. You develop these things, and then also like military, just kind of what they call that, some sort of humor. Yeah, but he pulled the firearm. He wouldn't have lived. He wouldn't, and he may have been committing suicide via officer initially. I don't, or did he pull it out? I can't. Like I said, I don't have the video. If they show the video of where he produces a firearm, I could look at it and say, he screwed. What's wrong? Was he drunk? Okay, there is a mistake there. Okay, so he did tell us it. You can't. I don't know. It sounds like maybe it was. He could be convicted because this one has a little bit more information. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, he did go. This one says it goes. He went back and fired 14 times. Yeah, that's going to get him. Right. I have another 4 shots. I have to see, what it is, but yeah, you can't go back and shoot the body once it's on the ground. He snapped. Right. I don't know why he produced the BB gun. And I have no idea why he shot. If it was just, again, I can't tell you from a single video what's actually happening. Right. Well, when he goes to throw it, I don't have the video of, I know maybe that's it. I don't know. So, but you have to understand, what did he do with his hand? So what did the officer see? The officers, because they're trained to shoot in fractions of a second. So what happened is possibly, again, going back and shooting the bodies, that's weird, right? But when he lifted his arm, in other words, when he says drop it, the officer expects him to drop it. It looks like he lifted his arm. So he's raising his arm up, and the officer sees the arm coming up, and then he shoots him. That's what I think happened. Now, the rest of it's kind of weird, right? I mean, shoot him a few times, right, but going back to the body is going to get him. It will get a conviction probably. Now, as far as if he's still alive, yeah, that's the problem. He's supposedly speaking still, so theoretically he was still alive, and you go back and you shoot him. I mean, if that's what happened, I don't. Okay, yeah, this one says it. Right now, I can see that his hand with the weapon is up, right. So to get from possibly like a waist height or something up to where he drops it or throws it, right? That's a far distance. Now, again, the officer shouldn't be an officer if he can't control that kind of thing. You don't walk back to the body and shoot it, right? Oh, it's the lawsuit. So the lawsuit says one thing. I don't know if that's the prosecutor's information, right? The lawsuit's going to say what it's going to say, right? I can't tell you if that's the government's evidence. But again, we got somebody walking on the road, middle of the night, 11 p.m., right? Or after 11 at that point, right? What was he doing? Was he what? Yeah, I mean, he shouldn't be killed for just walking, but right. Right. He should not. He should not have had that in his hand. He should have put his hands up, said, "Officer, I have a BB gun or an airsoft gun or whatever they want to call it, right, in my pocket. I'm not moving. I'm not going for it, and it's only a BB gun." That's what he should have said. You don't pull it out. Because like he'd be here today if he didn't pull it out. What I think happened again, the officer lost it going back to the body and shooting it. I don't understand that, but right. I mean, he snapped. That's obviously what happened, right? Uh, well, he probably took it out of his pocket because he wanted to produce it and show the officer, but you have to verbalize before you produce it and let the officer walk you through it. So again, I think New Mexico at a minimum should do a public awareness thing on if you're carrying a firearm legally, illegally, a BB gun legally, illegally, how to go about showing that to the officer if you get stopped. What do you do? What are you supposed to do? And again, it's state police should help them with it. And again, the idea is that you verbalize, you put your hands up and verbalize, right? And that's the best you can do. Well, because the officer's looking in a kind of tunnel vision and it happens. And what he's doing or what she's doing is she's looking for what's called furtive movement. So I believe he made a furtive movement, and that's what started the shooting. Right. Well, it appeared to be a furtive movement. Regular. And made the mistake of producing it. He should have just put his hands up high. Look, officer, I have a not real gun. Like, make sure before you say the word gun, you describe it well. Not real airsoft BB gun or blank gun or whatever it is in my pocket. I'm not going to move. My hands are up. Right. And at that point, the officer might even feel free enough to approach the individual and pull it out of his pocket. Right. So again, it's probably something the FBI should work on. I don't know if we have, how many of these type of shootings we have. We don't even know, I guess. Right? Even in pulling out a cell phone, don't pull out a cell phone. Don't pull out a gun. Don't move. Put your hands up. If you have things in your pocket you want to produce, right? Thank you, Larry. Well, because the way the training works, he's looking for a movement and then he pulls the trigger. He looked for a movement, pulled the trigger. What you see is it was dropped and then he pulled the trigger, but his finger was already squeezing when he dropped it. Right. The part where he shoots him after he walks away. I mean, if that really happened, that's kind of weird, right? He definitely can't be retained. I think if he walked back and shot the body. Right. And again, they can make a case probably for murder for that by saying his initial use. They can break the use of force down. The initial use of force, was justified. The follow-on use of force was not, if he was still alive, right? Yeah, he walked back and shot the body. That's what's going to get him in trouble. Agreed. Now, I don't know if he was still alive at that point, but I mean, technically, it may not be a murder if he was already dead, but a jury will find it. So again, technically, the shooting itself was probably justified because he produced what looked like to be a firearm and he made a furtive movement. Thank you, Lawrence. And he may have freaked out because he figured it was a bad shoot or something, or thought it was a bad shoot. Again, I'll be the only witness or something. He may have killed him. Wanted to kill him for other reasons at a certain point. I don't know. Right? I mean, cops do crazy shit. Right? That's how the deep state manipulates them. Oh, you already did this to him, and now you go to jail for it, so you got to end him, or something like that. I mean, it's it's one of the psychology. They're actually psychologically manipulating one another. Also, they're disgusting. They're piggish people. They're devils, man. They're the legion of demons that were put into the pigs. So the initial shoot was good. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's bad, but good. Again, you could sue them for wrongful death, possibly. Again, the idea of him producing something that looks like a firearm and then making a furtive movement would cause a shooting. So you need to do a public awareness campaign on how to go about articulating to police officers, law enforcement officers, that a person has a firearm or something that looks like a firearm, and tell them, don't be grabbing stuff out of your pocket. Don't be grabbing stuff from the center console, right? Just let the officer tell you what to do. Like when I'm pulled over, I don't go into my glove compartment. A lot of people will do that just so they have everything ready. Don't do that. When you get pulled over, I put my hands up high on the steering wheel right away. And that's what you should do. I know, it's kind of weird for some of you, but that's just the best thing to do. Put your hands up on the steering where it's seen, right? When they see you going in the glove compartment, yeah, they think maybe you're getting your registration, but then again, maybe you're going for a gun. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.